So we have completed the converse and the obverse. Now let us move back to the question paper, and the next is to do the obverted converse. Obverted converse. So there are rules, certain rules for obverted converse. Then after that contrapositive, and then inverse. So I made it very simple. I have my notes here. So let me just refresh this. All right. So all dogs are mammals is the original statement given. Okay. Now we have to first do the converse. So we'll quickly go through this. This is a A-type proposition. A-type proposition goes into, for the converse, it goes into I. So I starts with some mammals, because predicate and subjects are to be interchanged. Mammals are dogs. Obverse will be, because this is a A-type proposition, in obverse A goes to E. So this is E-type proposition, and this is the I-type proposition. So A goes to E in obverse, and the all becomes no, because E proposition starts with no, and the subject will remain there and there. Dogs are, the predicate will become its complement. So mammals will become non-mammals. This is as simple as it gets. Now let's go to the obverted converse. In obverted converse, we start with conversion first and then do the obverse of this converse that we did. Very simple. I'll repeat again. In obverted converse, we first do the converse and then do the obverse of the converse. So I'll give you we will do it with an example here. All dogs are mammals. When you have to convert it, it goes into I. We know that. We already done that. So some mammals are dogs. So first we did a converse. Now the converse, the obverse. Once the converse is finished, we'll do the obverse of the I. Obverse of the I is O. This also we know. So the obverse of the converse I is O, that we know. So O starts with some, R naught will remain as it is. And obverse we know that the predicate dog changes to non-dog. The subject remains as it is, and the rest of the obverse parameters apply. As simple as that. This is the obverted converse. Now, if you want a technique, a shortcut of direct conversion from obverted converse, from original to obverted converse, then I have a diagram. If you follow that diagram, it becomes very simple if you can memorize that diagram or understand that diagram. So let's go to the diagram first. For the obverted converse, what we do is, this is the diagram. So this is the proposition type A, E, I, O. We write it down. Starts with E, goes to A, that is E gets converted to A gets converted to O, I gets converted to O. Okay, E converts to A converts to O in obverted converse. Okay, directly without following the converse obverse step. E becomes A becomes O, I becomes O, and the subject and the predicate are interchanged, with subject becoming complement, that is subject predicate, predicate non-subject. Alright, so very simply, if you have to do this, let's say we have, let's start with A, all S are P. This is one statement. Now we have to do obverted converse. So normally we would first do a converse and then do obverse, right? So here we know that this is a proposition. A proposition directly converts to the O proposition, and the predicate and the subject are interchanged, with the subject becoming the complement. So O proposition is some S, we'll have to do it some P, because in the obverted converse P and S interchange. Some P are not non S. See, straight away we got the answer here. In the earlier also we did. Alright, so if you can remember this diagram, or else we simply do first converse and then obverse of that. This procedure also we can follow to do the obverted converse. So both the techniques I have shown you, whichever you find it easier, you follow that. So the diagram for this is, you write A, E, I, O quickly. Starts with E becomes A becomes O, I becomes O. This is the technique. Then original is SP. In the conversion it will become P non-S. Okay, that is all you need to remember. Okay, next we'll move on to, okay, so we'll solve that sum first. It says here, no successful authors are publishers. Just let's type it out. No successful authors are publishers. Okay, now first we need to understand what type of proposition this is. So this is universal negative. Universal negative is which type of proposition? It is E type. Okay, E type. Now no successful authors are publishers. First we have to do converse of this. In converse, E type goes into E only. So no successful. So in converse we have to interchange the subject and the predicate. So no publishers. Here the predicate will become the subject here in converse. No publishers are successful authors. Ignore the spelling error if any. As simple as this. So E remains in E type only. So I'll just mention what type you are converting it into. Alright, and obverse of the converse. Now we have to do obverse first. Okay, so we'll do converse also and then we'll do obverse. So this will become obverted converse. This will become obverted converse. So obverse of the converse. So E. So this is E type. E's obverse is A. So A would be all. Then the subject and the predicate will remain as it is. Publishers are successful authors. Okay, and it goes to A type. Wait a minute, there are some more things to be done. We also know that in obverse we have to replace the predicate. Successful authors are with its complement. So non-successful authors. So all publishers in obverse, we have to keep the subject and predicate at its place, but replace the predicate with its complement. So all publishers are non-successful authors. So this is the final obverted converse. Very easy, 2 marks you can easily score in this. No successful authors are publishers, easily we can score 2 marks. Now we'll go into contrapositive. So we completed converse, obverse, obverted converse. All three we have covered. Now if we want to also, let's practice for, we started with E type, let's start with the A type. So let's say all S R P. We'll start with the A type and with the logical form. This is the A type. A type, we know A type converse happens in what? It happens in, so let me just write it here only. Alright, all SRP. The converse of this, of A type, is I type. I type proposition. Okay, and I states what? Sum S R P. This is what it says. Now let's do the obverse of this. Obverse of A type. So let's do the obverse. Excuse me. Let's do the obverse. Obverse of A type is E type. Okay. E type states no SRP. So we did converse, we did obverse. Okay. Now third thing is we'll do obverted converse. So in obverted converse, we start with converse first. So converse is of A type, you already know. Converse of A is I type. That is sum SRP. Okay, and then we do the obverse of the converse of the previous one. So obverse of the I type is O type, which means in the converse we have to replace this. I hope you detected this fault, this mistake of mine, and you corrected on your own. So in converse, the subject and the predicate are interchanged also. Okay. Whereas in obverse, some subject and predicate are not interchanged, but predicate part is replaced with its non-complement. So some P are, first you write S itself and then write non-S. And this, because this is an O type, some P are not also has to be written. So some P are not non-S. The O type states some are not. So this will remain. The predicate will remain at its place. But this, the subject, this is a subject. This will remain at its place. And the predicate S will become non-S. So this will be the final obverted converse conversion. So this is obverted converse. Okay, for the A type. Now we have already done the E type, so we will not go into that. Next we will cover the I type. I also remains in I, we know that. So let's do the I type conversion. So I type will be no S is P. Okay, no S is P is the I type conversion. I type proposition. Now this has to be, first we have to do converse of this. So how will we do converse? The converse is very simple. Predicate and subject are interchanged, and converse goes into I remains in I type. So I remains in I type. Sorry, this is sum. I hope you're catching my mistakes here. I starts with some is or some are, some S is P or some S are P. So right now I'm stating some S is P. In the I type proposition, I remains in I, so we start with some only, and P is S because subject and predicate are interchanged, and it still remains in the I type. Okay, this is as far as converse is concerned for this I type proposition. Okay, now we'll do the obverse. Okay, for obverse, we don't interchange the subject and predicate, but replace the predicate with its non-complement. And the obverse of I is O type. Okay, A-E-I-O. So some S are not non-P. This is what the obverse will look like in I type conversion. I converted to the obverse is some S are not non-P. Now we will do obverted converse. For obverted converse, we have to start with converse first. Okay, we start with converse first. So the converse, of course, we know it is this only. So we'll just copy this paste and copy and paste it here. So converse of I type is I type, sum P is S. Subject and predicates are interchanged. Now we do obverse of this converse, that is the I. So we have to do obverse of the I type. So obverse of the I type goes into O type. Okay. So this will become, in obverse we replace the predicate, the second part, with its complement, that is S is replaced with non-S and O type. So sum P is not non-S. This is what is obverted converse. I hope this is clear to you. You can check it out. Go slowly. This is very, very simple. I'm telling you, you just have to understand the steps. It's like a logic, it's like a puzzle game. So if you know how to solve, for example, that Rubik's cube, if you know the technique of solving it, you can solve that. You can come back to all red, orange, whatever, all colors are one-sided on all sides of the same color. So all that too has a technique. So this too has a technique of conversion. Now why are we doing all these conversions is because we want to state one thing in another way, but the meaning is not changing. Without changing the meaning, we are stating one thing in different ways, using converse, obverse, obverted converse, and so on. Okay, next is contrapositive. So we have a question for contrapositive also, and we did not do the converse, obverse for the O type. So let's start with that. For the O type also let's cover. So O type logical form would be sum S is not P. This is the standard form, logical form. Now the converse of the O type is not possible. We know that. I've already mentioned. So converse is not possible. Okay, let's do the obverse. Obverse of O type we know is I type. Okay, and here the rule is that we have to keep the subject and predicate at its place, but replace the predicate with its complement. So I type is sum S is, now we have to remove this not because we are going into I type. Sum S is non-P. Not goes out and non-P remains. Do let me know if you find any mistakes that I have done in this while solving this, because I'm covering up too many things at one go in one video. There may crop up some errors. Do point that out to me. So obverse is possible, converse of the O type is not possible. Now therefore, can we do obverted converse? For obverted converse, we'll need to start with converse. So O type obverted converse is also not possible. Obverted converse for O type is also not possible because the converse itself we cannot do first. If we cannot do converse, how can we do obverse to get the obverted converse? I hope you are able to understand what I'm saying. Otherwise it is all like converse, obverse, obverted converse, and it's very confusing otherwise. But since I understood this topic very clearly, I can use all of these words interchangeably and still make sense because I have understood this. Maybe you'll need to go slow and understand this topic. But if you have not understood, do let me know in the comment section. For sure I'll try and help whatever I can, if time permits, that is. But this is easily 25 marks scoreable. Now let's look at the contrapositive. For contrapositive and inverse, we'll use a diagram for inverse. I am going to use the diagram for inverse, but for contrapositive also we can use the diagram because it's much simple than doing the, for example, for contrapositive we have to start with obverse, converse and obverse. For contrapositive we start doing the obverse first, then do the converse of it, and then do the obverse to come to contrapositive. So what happens is, O, if it's a O proposition, for example, if it's a E proposition, okay, we do the this is not an E proposition. So the original was A proposition. So the A proposition goes into obverse is E. A's obverse is E. A's obverse is E, and E's complement is E. This also we know. And then again obverse of E is A. So obverse of E is A. And when we come to this, we get a full contrapositive or partial contrapositive. If we do only once, for example, obverse and converse. In the previous one, obverted converse, we started with converse and then went to obverse. But in contrapositive, we start with obverse and then go to converse for partial. But for full, we have to go to obverse once again to do a complete contrapositive. Now there is a diagram which I would follow for contrapositive and inverse both. So contrapositive diagram is as simple as this. We start with A, go into E, E goes into I, and O goes into I. So this is very similar to the previous one, the same diagram. So A, E, I and O. So E goes into, we'll have to change this. A goes into E, E goes into I, and O goes into I. This is how we have to draw the diagram. So for quick reference we can do this. Now what about subject and predicate rules? So for subject and predicate rules, SP becomes non-PS for partial, okay, and for full it becomes SP becomes non-P non-S, non-P non-S. So for partial, SP will become non-P S. Have I written it properly? Let me just recheck that. Non-PS, correct. And here this will become, for the full contrapositive, SP will become non-P non-S. Okay, this is all we need to know. These only two things. Contrapositive starts with A, and obverted converse we don't need to remember the diagram because we can just do these two steps and complete it. That too will help. But for contrapositive and inverse we will need a diagram because I feel diagram is much simpler than doing obverse, converse, obverse. There's a lot of possibility of doing mistakes here. But if you are comfortable with this technique, then do this. Otherwise follow this chart here. Just draw the chart on a rough paper on your exam paper and just do this. SP partial is converted to non-PS, and SP full is contrapositive. I'm talking about contrapositive, non-P non-S. Now how do we solve this? So this is also very simple. Okay, continuing on. let's look at the question of the full contrapositive. So we know the statement is all reformers are idealists. So just let us write it down. Okay, all reformists are idealists. Ignoring the spelling error, let's move forward. Okay, so what kind of proposition is this? This is A type because it says all are. So this is a A type proposition, and since we have to do contrapositive, full contrapositive, let's just check that it is full contrapositive. So we'll do both partial and full contrapositive both using the diagram that I just showed. Okay, so this is the diagram. So we'll redraw the diagram again here. So we write A, E, I and O. Contrapositive starts with this, we are doing contrapositive. This side will be full and this side will be partial. Okay, so for contrapositive, partial SP becomes not P S and full becomes not P not S or non P non S. Okay, and the rule is A to E, E to I and O to I. Once we just do this much, just write this statement above and just draw this diagram, we'll be able to easily convert from A type. We know that A type in contrapositive full will be E type with non P non S. Okay, so there will be another rule for this. This diagram is only for partial contrapositive. For full contrapositive, A will remain in A. So I'll draw with circle so we'll understand. For full contrapositive, A will remain in A. O will remain in O. And E will change to O. So I'll draw a zigzag line like this. So we can just modify this diagram a little bit. And for full contrapositive, A will remain A, O will remain O. This will apply. That is, PS will SP will become non P non S, and E will move to O. A will remain in A, O will remain in O. This is the only thing that we need to draw. Okay. So now they have told us to draw, make a full contrapositive of this type. This is a type. So A will remain in A. So once we know that A remains in A, we write all, and the subject predicate are interchanged and they become non. So all non, here in this example, this is the subject of the original and this is the predicate of the original. So when we are doing a contrapositive full, all non P, this is what we are taking, all non P are non S. All non P are non S, and it remains in A only. So it's a very simple diagram. Immediately we can come to know. So we'll draw this. I'll draw this diagram once again, just to memorize it. So A, E, I, O. A goes to E, E goes to I, and O goes to I. These two opposite sides remain as it is for full contrapositive, and E goes to O. E type becomes O type. Alright, and for the conversion, for partial, SP becomes not P S, and for full contrapositive, SP becomes not P not S. This is contrapositive that we are doing. This side is full and this side is part or partial. okay, and this is full. So we drew the diagram immediately without any difficulty, and we know the circle stands for full contrapositive. So E goes to O. A remains in A, O remains in O. Now let's come back here. So we write all non-P are non-S. All non-P are non-S. This is the full contrapositive, and easily we can get 3 marks for this. If we just draw a diagram like this, A gets converted to E, and E gets converted to I, O gets converted to I for partial, okay, for partial. But for full, the circle ones apply. That is, A remains in A, O remains in O, E goes to O, and the subject predicate are interchanged for contrapositive. Contra means opposite to each other, so we interchange anyways. So I hope this diagram should have helped you. I've not got this diagram from anywhere. I've just created on my own. So this would be really helpful to, I suppose, to most of the my fellow students. Okay. So we are done this. Now let's do some practical conversions from different types to different types. So let's do the logical format and then convert all of them one at a time. Let's start with A type conversion we have done. A to full we have already done. For partial, what we'll have to do is partial A will go to E for partial, okay. So this is full contrapositive. I'll write full contrapositive, okay, CP. And for converting it to partial contrapositive, we have to use E. E is no, and then non-PS, okay. So no non-P are S. This is partial contrapositive. And what is this? This is converted to E type, and the above one remains in A type. So when we are converting, when the normal example or sentence or statement is of A type goes to A type, and that is for full contrapositive, and for E type in partial contrapositive. I hope this is easy for you all. I don't know, for me this is very easy because of the diagram and everything. So you can follow on that basis. Now let's take the E proposition. So no SRP. This is a standard logical form that we are using to convert to different contrapositives. So no SRP will go into, if we want to do partial first, so E goes to I. It's written here, E goes to I. So this is E type, and we have to do contrapositive. So contrapositive, E type goes into I type, and I type states some SRP, right? This is a normal standard form, but we have to do conversion. So we have to do contrapositive, partial. So here we have to interchange the predicate and subject and negate the predicate, negate the subject here, because this P does not mean it's a predicate here. P means it has become now subject. This was the original predicate of the original statement. I hope there is no confusion here. So this will become P, some P are S, and this will be negated. So some P, some non-P are S. This is how the contrapositive partial will work. So once you know the partial, we can very easily do the full contrapositive. So E type full contrapositive goes to O type, which is some dash are not whatever. So now we have to interchange again. So non-P, subject and predicate are interchanged. Are non-S, are not non-S, okay, because this is the O type. Some non-P are not non-S. This is the O type of conversion. So we did. Now we converted A to its partial and full. Now next we did E to its partial and full. Next let's take the I proposition. I proposition states some S are E. Okay, this is the I type proposition. This we have to do the contrapositive, partial and full. So first we'll do partial. So we know I cannot be done partially. Okay, in contrapositive I, you see there is no arrow pointing from I. So contrapositive for I is not possible. Okay, so we'll skip this for a contrapositive. So we did A, we did E, I is not possible, so we'll move to O type. So O type logical form is some S are not P. So contrapositive of the O type partial, with this diagram we can see it goes to the I type. So I type will be, we'll write the standard form first, some are, okay, and we know that this has to be the predicate of the original. So predicate of the original is not P. Okay, and now we are converting to I. So not will go away. This not will go away. So it will become non-P. Some non-P are S. Correct. So this is the I type. And we also have to convert the O to its full contrapositive. So O full contrapositive is remains in O only. This is why we have shown it by the circle. A remains in A, O remains in O. Okay, so we remain in O type only. So some are not, we have to write it down immediately because O we have to convert it to O type. So O is some are not. Rest all will fill as we come. So non-P and non-S. Non-P, non-S. Some non-P are not non-S. This is a very simple way of converting it. Please let me know if you have understood this or whether this has helped you or has made it more complicated for you. So we have converted all types for contrapositive. Now let's move to the final one, inverse. The inverse diagram I'll just show you immediately. This is also a diagram that I've made, a shortcut diagram. This will also help you out. It's a very simple diagram. In fact, it's much simpler. So in inverse, A becomes, just cross it out like this, and E to O, A to I, A to O, all downwards. It all goes downwards in inverse. Okay, nothing goes up. And if you want to do full, only A to I is possible and E to O is possible in full. Whereas partial, only A to O is possible and E to I is also partial only. Now for partial, the rule is that SP it doesn't interchange. Just like contrapositive, it interchanges, but here it doesn't interchange. In fact, the S becomes non-S and the P remains as P. And in full inverse, both are complemented. Subject and predicate both are complemented. Both complement we have to put in full contrapositive. So let's start with an example, a simple example with the A proposition type. Let's start with A. A states all S are P, correct? Let's go a little bit down and then we'll refer to the diagram as and when required. All S are P. Now we have to do, this is a A type statement. And we have to do inverse partial first. We'll do inverse partial. Okay. So for partial, let's draw the diagram. Let me draw the diagram for you. A, E, I, O. Subject predicate are not interchanged. First you cross it out like this. Okay. So this is for the partial. And from A to I and E to O, one way direction. This is for full inverse. Full inverse, full inverse. So means E can be partially converted, or inverse can be done for E type into I type, and A type proposition can be inversed into its O type partially. If they ask us to do partial inversion, we can do this. But if they tell us to inverse A type proposition into full inverse, then we have to move it to move it to I type proposition. Now the rule was, as we learned earlier, subject predicate, then subject predicate are not interchanged. Subject will become inverse and predicate will remain like this, and where in full it will become subject and predicate both will be complement. I hope you are understanding this. I'm going at great length to explain these topics of logic in a very simple way. I have also learnt it a hard way, a very difficult way, but devoted a lot of time and energy into understanding these concepts. And it's very, very simple. As if you don't know basic concepts, then of course you need to put a lot of effort and everything. You will not understand this until you put some time and patience and listen to what I'm saying. You'll definitely get this. 25 marks is nowhere. This is very easily scoreable. So we have already given this score. Now let's do the revision for the earlier contrapositive also diagram, so that we can remember that. This is a good way of going back into, we write AEIO. Okay, starts with A to E, E to I, and O to I. This is partial. These straight lines are partial. Okay, in partial what happens? Partial contrapositive, SP becomes PS, but P is negative. In full, SP becomes non-P, non-S. Okay, for the contrapositive. And for the full, A remains in A, O remains in O, E changes to O. I am redrawing this diagram again. Alright, now let's come back to our contrapositive. Let's come back to the inverse. Now we have to do partial inverse first. Partial. So do partial. A type partial goes to O type. So O type. And O type states, what is the logical form of O type? O type states some are not. This is a standard form. Some are not. Okay, rest all will put as it comes. So we'll have to look at the diagram here. So since we are doing partial, so we have to, subject will become non and predicate will remain as it is. So this will become some non S are not P. Correct. Some non S are not P. Okay, now we'll do full. For doing full of A type, we have to go to I type proposition. So full will go into I type proposition. Okay, so what is the standard logical form of I type? It says some R. Okay, we'll just write this and then fill in the other things. Now since we want to do full, we'll have to do non S, non P. Some non S are non P. This is how you convert partial to partial. This is inverse we are doing right now. Okay. I hope this is clear. Now we know that we cannot do it for I and O. We can only do it for A and E in inverse. So let's take the next one, the E type. What is the standard logical form of E type? No S R P. This is the standard form. Now we have to do inverse and we are doing partial first. So E partial is I. You can see here E partial is I. So partial is I type. And I type, what is the standard logical form of I type? Some R. So once we type that, then we look at the rule for how subject and predicate are in the inverse. So non S and P. So we write some non S R P. Some non S R P. Correct. And for full, E goes to O proposition, becomes O type. And O type, what is the standard form of O type? Logical form of O type? Some are not. This is standard. And then we have to substitute those conversion. SP becomes non S, non P. So non S, non P. Some non S are not non P. So with this, a very long video comes to an end. You can very easily score all 25 marks if you pay attention to what I have shown here. Yet if you have not understood, I would recommend you watch this video gradually. Ask me if you have some doubts in the comment section and I'll try to help you out. With this, I end this video. Look at the different types of questions also, where you can score additional 10-15 marks very easily and get a good score in elementary logic for semester 1, first year BA LLB, Mumbai University. Thank you very much for your valuable time and for my valuable time as well. I'm sure if somebody has that patience to reach this point and sit till the very end and listen to what I'm saying, then you'll definitely need to subscribe and share the link with your friends, as this is one of the best videos I think I have made, such a long video. And this will definitely give you maximum marks of at least 25 in the elementary logic question paper. With this, I say goodbye, take care, best of luck for your exams.